So the whole Spider-Man pre-order DLC debacle has, blown up on the webs. It's more the DLC stuff because a lot of people have, pre-ordered the game and all that good stuff. But there's something that I wanted to point out before I actually started talking about this video that kind of shows the irony of, the whole pre-order debate, because it's all over the place. It's everywhere. So I was watching the video that Pretty Good Gaming did today or about, the backlash. And everybody knows that, Garrett and the guys on Pretty Good Gaming, even though the other guys aren't there currently, right now, they are against pre-ordering. I mean, they preach it all the time, which their opinion they've actually backed up with a lot of sensible thought. And so I do agree with them. But I just wanted to show you guys this comment that was on that video, okay? It's a good sarcastic one. It says, "Thank you to all the people who are buying these games for $60 and supporting the developers. Without you, I wouldn't be able to buy these games for a few dollars 2 years later on Steam." I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was actually a very good statement to actually make because, the average gamer right now is 35 years old, usually working class. And even though we may buy these video games, most gamers are not able to sit down and grind through the content in a few days like it was when you were younger and obligations weren't that many. But what I wanted to actually put out there was the subjective nature of pre-ordering and the subjective nature of the DLC debacle. So everybody complains, not everybody, but most people complain about DLCs, complain about pre-ordering in some instances, especially for games that they're interested in. And usually for games they don't really care about, they don't really complain or even mention anything about it. And so it makes it seem to others that are observing from outside that they're not being consistent. So people may say things like, especially about Spider-Man, oh, so it was okay for Horizon Zero Dawn to actually put out DLC, yet for Spider-Man it's not a big deal. Some people say things like that. But the truth about the whole pre-ordering and DLC thing is, DLCs have no standard. They're subjective. So some people have bought DLC and have been burned. Destiny. Some people have bought DLCs and have been burned. The Division. All these games that come out here and there, and I played The Division, and the DLCs that we bought, they were underwhelming. We paid for, the full game and all the gold editions and all that stuff. And now, even in the Division community, a lot of people said the whole pre-ordering thing didn't seem to make sense. And the community, literally, most people in the community had a backlash against the content creators for calling out the developers for putting a whole bunch of weird stuff in pre-orders. Yes, the whole pre-order debate is lost on the majority of gamers today, because majority of gamers are at the age where they're working and they can actually, put out money to actually pay for these games and pay for them in advance. So we're going to see this practice continue. So I think gamers need to make a more measured argument about the whole pre-order debacle instead of making it something like, oh, why do you have DLCs? We need to be able to make sure that the developers know what the expectation of a DLC in a certain game actually means. Now, the problem is there are different game genres and there are also different types of games. And so in the end, DLC, in a sense, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when the game has not been released yet. And that's what happened to Spider-Man here. You see, the game is not out yet, so we don't really even know what the game is like, what the mission structures are like, except for people who've actually gotten some playtime. And yet there's already DLC, and so how are we even going to know what this DLC actually feels like? Because the game is 20 hours, it's $60, it's a 20-hour story mission, which is what the developers have confirmed during playtesting. It took about 20 hours to beat the game, and now there's already DLC. Now let's flip the script and go to The Witcher, which the game is hours and hours of content, and from what players of the game have actually, reported, the DLC also provides a lot more hours of content as well. So I don't know how much value a DLC is going to actually bring, but I think a DLC needs to bring value to its player base. And putting an announcement out for a DLC before the game actually comes out is just a premature move. I mean, I said announcement. I didn't say anything about DLC. DLC could be done and cut and dry however you want to see it, whether it's, cut from the game or whether it's added later on or whatever. But the announcement is so premature in my opinion. And so that's where we stand. Also, I think gamers need to demand demos, playable demos for everybody, even if it's 20 minutes of the game. Shoot, even if it's 10 minutes of the game, I think gamers right now need to start doing that. We need to start demanding from these developers and from these publishers a playable demo for the game so that we can see what the game feels like and actually judge. At that point, if you're pre-ordering a game that you have a demo for, then it makes sense because you have a tangible aspect of the game. The irony, though, right now is a lot of people pre-order games that they have probably never touched. And so that's a scary place to be. I pre-order games. I do pre-order games. But before I pre-order a game, after I pre-ordered Uncharted 4, I said I wasn't going to pre-order any more games. But then I had to step back and say, okay, wait, are there going to be circumstances where I actually pre-order a game? And yes, they are. Like past 2019, the demo was out August the 8th of this year. So 21 days ago, 3 weeks ago, the demo was actually dropped. And the game doesn't come out till tomorrow. And so they've given 3 weeks for you to tangibly play the game, think about it, and make a decision. It's an old school way of doing things. And so if you decide at that point that you want to either pre-order the game or buy the game, you already have tangible gameplay. You already have something to judge based on. But in the case of Spider-Man, we've got nothing. And so in the case of many other games, The Division 2, we have nothing. You know, all these games that are asking for pre-order money, there's nothing for us to know how we're going to play them. So at this stage, if anybody's pre-ordering a game that they have nothing to hold on to, nothing to judge by, then I would say it's their money and they can do whatever they please. But I don't think it's a practice that the gaming community needs to continue to support. So I'm looking at the page, and there's hype and all that good stuff. The inner kid in us, the inner child in mature 30-something-year-old, millennials, baby boomers, whatever, because I know gamers that are, in almost every generation, any generational category that's pretty much alive till this day. There are gamers, high amounts of gamers, in those categories. But, there's just a common sense rule that says, why would you give money to somebody when you don't know what you're even going to get? Because even the whole downgrade debacle too has been there, where people are saying that they downgraded what they saw from the 2018, whether it's the trailer or whatever, versus the 2016 one or something like that. So changes have already been made, and you still don't even have a playable, you don't have a playable game. You don't have 10 minutes of gameplay in your hand. All you have is what somebody else has put on YouTube, and that's what people are going to go by. People are very trusting. I'm not trying to throw dirt on Insomniac Games. Don't get me wrong. I've never played a Spider-Man game, so I have everything to look forward to, hoping that this game is good and it would actually meet and even beat the expectations. But I'm just saying gamers need to, find a more intelligent way to actually discuss and argue about these things. And so, in my opinion, if you don't give me any gameplay and you ask for pre-order money, or you ask for DLC, or you talk about DLC, you're not doing it right. Your PR department needs to find a new way to do things. So I genuinely think, as a solution, developers and publishers, I'm not saying that Konami is the best developer and the best, the saint in the whole matter. I mean, EA does the same thing. They even do it with their EA, access thing, where they give you the first few hours of the game, but you still have to actually pay to get that kind of demo. So they monetize the demo. And you see the irony of everything. It's crazy, the world that we live in. And I think gamers are smarter than this. We need to be able to, pulverize and look through when it comes to all these, shady and questionable practices. I know gamers are some of the most intelligent people in the world. The reason I'm buying Pro Evolution is because I played it with some of my most brilliant friends. I'm talking genius level friends, and so I'm really surprised that sometimes these things can go. And I think it's because, we grow up, we're in this place where we have money to shell out and we don't really have time to be discussing all these things. And once the game is out there, for just the sake of, just comfort, we just put the money out there. And I don't think that should be the case. I think we need to set this industry up for success and actually request, and actually start setting different standards. Because hyping up a game and just letting the game developers do as they please, I don't think that's a good precedent to set. So that's just my opinion. Pre-orders, they are not essentially always all bad. DLCs are not essentially always all bad. But in some instances, we should not be speaking about those things, especially when we don't have, tangible gameplay that actually gives us something at least to experience with the game. Like for everybody, I'm not talking about a designated select few. I'm talking, it should be accessible demos, accessible betas for the game before they even talk about pre-ordering the game. I think that should be the industry standard. And if you think I'm, sounding off some kind of silly alarm, or you think I'm actually deranged for thinking that, then whoa, I don't know what world I'm living in. Well, that's all I wanted to say for today. Thank you for your time and your audience. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like if you liked the video, and subscribe for more content like this. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.